Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorraine Silverman, and I, along with my co-chair of the New York State Bar Association's Children in the Law Committee, Linda Costin, would like to welcome you to the 2024 Howard A. Levine Award Ceremony. Thank you to everyone who is in attendance, both in person and virtually. We are broadcasting this. It is wonderful to have you join us tonight. First, as always, I want to thank Judge Levine for being here tonight. Without the work that he and so many others with him did so many years ago, our committee and the critical work that it does likely would not exist. Second, I would like to thank the members of our esteemed Court of Appeals who are with us tonight, as well as all other members of the judiciary for joining us. Having you with us each year for this ceremony is a reminder to all of us of the value that you each place in our child welfare and juvenile justice system and those who serve to make a difference therein. Next, I would like to thank my fellow committee members. They attend meetings, they volunteer their time, and they commit to make a difference for New York's children. I say this, and I mean it every year. I am a smarter lawyer because of my involvement in this committee. Finally, I would like to thank President Dominic Napolitano for NYSBA's continued and unwavering support of our committee. Without that, we would not be able to continue this work. And with that, I would like to introduce our president.
Thank you so very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Bar Center. Tonight, we honor two women from different ends of our state, from Buffalo to the Bronx, for their outstanding work in reforming the family courts in their region. Their work is improving the lives of children, teens, and their families, is a model for other courts to likewise follow. Judge Anne-Marie Jolly has worked on behalf of children and families from the start as a trial attorney and a court attorney referee in the family court. In 2010, she was appointed as a family court judge, serving Queens and the Bronx, and later was promoted to the administrative judge of the New York City Family Court. That is just her resume talking, but this is not the real story here. Judge Jolly established an annual case management conference that looks at data to find new ways to improve efficiency in family court. Some of those changes included new scheduling methods to reduce delays in child protective cases. Judge Jolly likewise increased the use of mediation in her courts and offers appointments for night and weekends for working parents. Our courts employ a staff of mediators who can speak 12 languages. She offers training to staff and fellow judges on issues like prevention of human trafficking and implicit bias. In her nomination letter, Judge Jolly's first deputy chief clerk, Ruth Whalen, summed it up this way. Judge Jolly's exceptional leadership has brought about transformation in New York City Family Court, fostering a more compassionate, efficient, and equitable institution for the well-being of children and families throughout the city. That is very well said. Judge Gerber has dedicated her career to child advocacy and is the chief attorney in the Attorneys for Children unit of Buffalo's Legal Aid Society. She learned early in her career how to navigate the bureaucracy and connect her clients to the educational resources they needed. She expanded that work to create a network of partnerships with community groups that support children and families in need. Judith, if I may address you as Judith, Your Honor, then shared that knowledge offering training programs in CLE on educational law. Judges and fellow attorneys say that Judith is the go-to expert on all things dealing with special children and education of them. Judith's development of the education advocacy program focused on advocacy in special education, school discipline, and school stability. One example of her work is hosting events to celebrate the success of young people under her care. Judith is always willing to use her expertise to help others, In her nomination letter, Attorney Teresa Lorenzo writes that Judith's assistance on a case helped her teen client get into a special education class that allowed him to thrive and eventually graduate from high school. Judge Shannon Philbright and Lisa Block Rodman wrote that Judith plays a vital role in the positive change in attitudes and processes in Erie County's family court. In her nomination letter, they say her training programs and collaborations lead to deep systematic reform in schools, as well as improving the experience of the Erie County Family Court bench. Now it is my distinct pleasure to turn the program over to Judge Richard Rivera, statewide coordinating judge for the family court matters. I am sure you. Just one more sentence, Judge. I'm sorry, sir. I am sure that you're well aware of the fine work that Judge Rivera has done to improve our family courts. Judge Rivera, I appreciate you being with us today and looking forward to your remarks, sir. I give you now Judge Rivera.
Good evening, everybody. I promise I won't be more than an hour. As you heard, I'm Judge Rivera, the statewide coordinating judge for family court matters, because, as I like to say, family court does matter. And I truly do mean that. For me, it's an honor just giving words, and I promise I won't be long because we really want to hear from our recipients today. But I wanted just to share a little bit from the heart about what family court, what it means to me. You know, it takes a special kind of person to work in family court. Whether you're a judge or an attorney or some other form of advocate coming to the family court representing families, it takes a special kind of person. And you know, in preparation for my words today, I was looking for what to say. I came across a quote from a poet who I don't know, whose work I don't know. The poet's name is Rumi, but the quote says the following: Everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put in every heart. And I think it's apropos because the effective people who work in family court, it was something that was put in them, something that comes out of them. I had the privilege of serving on a panel yesterday for the Family Law Society and Albany Law School, talking to some of the students who are interested in family court. And what I impressed on them was the desire to do the work. If the desire is there, you'll be the most effective you can be. Because nobody likes to do something that they're forced to do. They do what gives them that passion, that drive, that desire. So when the difficult moments come, and in family court they will come, you'll still keep going. And when you get that one more litigant who calls you that one more name, you still have that desire to keep going. When they want to fire you, even though they actually didn't hire you because you were appointed, you still have that desire to keep going. You know, and I shared with them, because they wanted to know, some of the tough moments. And I remember saying the first time I had to deal with a raise the age youth, and I had to decide whether or not to keep the matter in family court, it was tough for me because the majority of the young people that we see, at least in my county, in the youth part, are men, young men, and the majority of those are young men of color. And so here I am, this Puerto Rican judge with a dark face, sitting up on the bench, having to decide what I'm going to do, knowing all the statistics, knowing all the arguments out there, and it really tugged at my heartstrings. And I have to give credit to Judge Richardson, because I reached out to her and I said, what do we do? And she said, you know what, I can't tell you what to do, but remember this, some people do need to go to jail. It's a fact. And it doesn't matter what your face looks like as a judge or what their face looks like as a litigant, some people need to go to jail. But it was a tough moment. You know, one of the last cases that I had, and for those who don't know, I was elected as Supreme Court Justice here in the third last year. So thank you. I appreciate that. And up until then, I was serving as an Albany County Family Court judge. One of the last cases I did involved a family who had been obviously fighting over custody, and there were a lot of issues going on in this family. We were at trial, but while the matter was pending, the mother got involved in a car accident and unfortunately the oldest of the 4 kids, passed away. And so we're having this trial, and the paternal aunt is testifying right next to me and going over what she experienced when she went to the hospital, and she starts to cry. And if you sense a little quavering in my voice right now, it's because that's how I was feeling that day in court. And it was everything, it took every bit of energy and strength that I had not to cry myself on that bench. So I remembered what they teach us, right? If a witness is having a tough time testifying and the attorneys don't ask if they want a moment. So I did. And she took it. And I was glad because I needed that moment. It was a tough time because you hear as judges about these children, and they talk about them all the time. We don't always get to see them, but you know them. You feel like you know them. And then you hear that something tragic happens, and then it becomes real, and you see the emotion that the people go through. Unless you're a stone or made out of stone or have a heart that's made out of stone, you can't help but to feel. But the very last, or at least one of the last cases I had, was on the opposite end. And Ms. Silverman knows about this because she was involved in this case, and it involved an adoption of a young man who had been through a lot in his short life. And nothing, and we made sure that the case was ready and that all the paperwork was in place because I wanted to be the judge who did that, who gave this young man permanency. And those are the moments that impact us when we work in family court. And that's why I say that this poet, this quote, was apropos. It's something that's in you. And this is my opinion, and you might feel otherwise, but I feel it's gotta be something that's in you, that comes from within, that even though people are accusing you of all kinds of things, as attorneys, as judges, as social workers, whatever capacity you have, even though people are accusing you of all these things, you still go on and you still do what you've been hired to do, what you've been appointed to do, what you have selected you want to do with your life. Why do I bring all of this up? Because of the people who are being nominated today for this award. And I believe that this describes Judge Jolly. This describes Attorney Gerber. They have that desire, that passion within them to do this job. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the places where they are now, in the positions where they are now. I know that, not just because I've been there, done that, and have the scars to prove it, but because I know the two of them. And in my capacity as statewide coordinating judge, I'm involved in a family court initiative that they're both a part of. I'm involved in a smaller initiative around child welfare that they're a part of. And they're not being paid for that. They're doing this because they were asked to participate, and they're doing it. And so I stand here giving you words, but I stand here in awe of the work that they do. And even though Judge Jolly gives me a hard time all the time, and I said I was going to talk to her mother about that, I still know that she was meant to do this work. And I haven't known Ms. Gerber as long, but I know that she was meant to do this work. There's one more quote that I want to share with you, and then I'll sit down so that they can have as much time as possible to talk when their time is up. Coretta Scott King said the following: "It doesn't matter how strong your opinions are. If you don't use your power for positive change, you are indeed part of the problem." No one, I think, is more opinionated than a judge or an attorney, which is them. But they have been using, and I know will continue to use, their power to bring about change. And that is what this award is all about. So I commend the committee for the nominees, for giving them this award. I congratulate you both. It is well deserved. And I look forward to continuing the work that we're all going to do together to address the needs of the families that come to our family courts throughout the state. Thank you.
Good evening. Oops. Good evening. I'm Linda Costin, and I drew the short straw because I have to follow Judge Rivera on the program. But I also have the pleasure of introducing our award recipients. And I have to say, tonight is a very special evening. We have gathered in person and virtually to recognize two incredibly dedicated members of the legal community who have dedicated their careers to improving the lives of children experiencing child welfare and juvenile justice matters. But what makes tonight even more special, this particular Levine Awards ceremony, is the mutual esteem that tonight's honorees, the Honorable Anne Marie Jolly and Judith Gerber, have for each other. Their paths cross frequently as they work tirelessly to improve the lives of New York's children. They both have been designated to numerous committees and various different task forces, which goes to prove that the folks in charge really know what they're doing. So I'll be introducing the honorees, starting with Judge Jolly. The following observations were shared by Ruth Whalen, the first Deputy Chief Clerk of New York City Family Court. Judge Jolly currently serves as the administrative judge of New York City Family Court. Prior to her current role, Judge Jolly served as the deputy administrative judge for an impressive 6 years, showcasing her exceptional leadership skills and expertise in the field. Her journey working in family court began in 2000 as a court attorney referee. In September 2020, she was appointed as a trial judge, starting in Bronx County and later moving to Queens County, where she has served with distinction ever since. Her vast experience in various roles within family court has equipped her with a comprehensive understanding of the complexities and nuances of family law. Earlier in her career, Judge Jolly held a variety of roles, including counsel to the administrative judge of the New York City Family Court and trial attorney with the Legal Aid Society's Juvenile Rights Division. This invaluable experience undoubtedly shaped her empathetic and child-centered approach to the cases that come before her. Judge Jolly is a prominent figure in the legal community, serving as chair of the statewide Committee on Attorneys for Children, which I myself have the pleasure of serving on under Judge Jolly's leadership. Judge Jolly also contributes to the New York State Family Court Advisory and Rules Committee and has extensive experience as a trainer for family court judges, referees, court attorneys, legal aid, ACS, and many other organizations. As President Napolitano shared, Judge Jolly has spearheaded initiatives to enhance the outcomes and reduce time taken for child protective and juvenile delinquency cases to reach resolution. One notable achievement was the establishment of an annual case management conference at the Judicial Institute, where judges, court attorneys, and support magistrates are trained on utilizing data to enhance the efficiency of case processing. Judge Jolly emphasizes the importance of monitoring data to see where family court excels and where it could improve. For example, Judge Jolly requested that an outcome for attorney assignments and appearance be added to UCMS to identify delays due to attorney shortages. Judge Jolly has consistently shown strong support for raise the age legislation and is firmly committed to making family court resources available to 16 and 17-year-old youths. She has worked tirelessly to streamline the handling of juvenile justice matters. Judge Jolly is also committed to improving access to justice and ensuring equal justice for all court users. All newly hired judicial staff are trained on the intersection of race, gender, and class in family court. Ongoing education on racism and bias is also provided to all staff members. Judge Jolly recognizes that diverse staff is one of family court's greatest resources. Judge Jolly's exceptional leadership has brought about significant transformation in the New York City Family Court, fostering a more compassionate, efficient, and equitable institution for the well-being of children and families throughout the city. Please help me welcome and congratulate the Honorable Anne Marie Jolly.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the kind, warm, and generous introduction. It means a great deal coming from you, Linda. Um, I deeply appreciate the thoughtfulness that you brought to this moment. It is truly humbling to be honored tonight, and I appreciate everyone for being here, both in person as well as virtually. Can't find the words, so I can slow down and take a breath. I am and have been touched. And Linda will tell you in private how I reacted to receiving the call. Um, Disbelief. I even wrote to her the next day and I said, did this happen? Did you really call me yesterday and tell me this wonderful news? I am deeply honored and humbled to stand here as a recipient of the Howard A. Levine Award for Excellence in Juvenile Justice and Child Welfare. My heartfelt thanks go to the New York State Bar Association, to the President, Dominic Napolitano, and to the Committee on Children and Law and co-chairs Linda Costin and Lorraine Silverman. I'd also like to express my gratitude to my family, my colleagues, and mentors for their steadfast encouragement and belief in me and this work that we do. Receiving an award in the name of Justice Levine holds such profound significance. His legacy and lifelong dedication to juvenile justice and child welfare are truly inspiring. Throughout his career, he fought tirelessly for our justice system to be more compassionate, as I mentioned to you earlier, more inclusive and responsive to the needs of vulnerable children and families. His vision and his commitment have paved the way for so many of us here today, and I'm grateful to walk a path that he has illuminated. I'd like to thank those who submitted my name, that person who submitted my name for consideration, and others who have supported the submission. My deep gratitude goes to Ruth Whalen, New York City Family Court's first Deputy Chief Clerk. And I know that Judge Richardson, our Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiative, also supported that nomination. I am grateful to those who are part of my team. Some of them are here in person, and those who are supporting me in the virtual world. I'm gonna take point of personal privilege and acknowledge the team that I could not do this work without. They include, I'm gonna shout out Nancy Murillo, who is my administrative aide, who keeps me focused on task. And people know that if I have not responded within 24 hours, they know to reach out to Nancy to say, hey, psst, you know, and she reminds me. To her left is Richard Spolzino, my counsel. To his left is Eugene Hurley, who is a phenomenal chief clerk. To his left is one of our newer, thank you for being here, one of our newer court attorney referees who sits in Brooklyn Family Court, Jennifer Redden Kassar. And then we have our first deputy administrative judge, Peter Pasadomo, again, Ruth. And next to Ruth on her right, on her left is one of our amazing supervising judges who could make it today, and I appreciate it. That is Allison Hamangian. There are others who are not here in person. I know that some of them changed their plans so that they would be in the country before traveling to Japan. And that is one of my counsel, Jody Hirschman. I also want to thank Officer Jacqueline Rivera, who's right up there keeping us all safe. She keeps me on track on a regular basis. There are others who could not be here. Additionally, our Tiani Clark, another supporter. I have many others, supervising judges in our courts, everyone who works in our court. I am honored, extremely honored, to share this recognition with my esteemed co-recipient, Judith Gerber. Our paths go way back. Her dedication to advancing the rights and well-being of families and children is truly remarkable. Her work exemplifies the compassion and commitment this award represents, and her contributions have inspired many. Ms. Gerber, thank you for your tireless advocacy and for all that you do to uplift and protect those who need it the most. I'm grateful to stand beside you tonight as we continue this important work. This award is not just a recognition of past achievements. I believe that it is a call to continue the work that remains. In juvenile justice and child welfare, every decision impacts young people's lives, actually all lives, in ways that echo into the future. As professionals in this field, we have a profound responsibility to advocate for systems that are fair, just, and centered on the well-being of children and families that we serve. This honor is also a reflection of a collective effort. I share it with every colleague, and those include the many court officers, clerks, interpreters, reporters, attorneys, judges, supervising judges, judicial hearing officers, support magistrates, court attorney referees, executive team members who have devoted their time and energy to this work that we do every day. I'm especially grateful to those working directly with children, parents, and families every day, providing the support and the guidance that they need. You are all the backbone of this work, and I'm continually inspired by everyone's commitment. Standing here, I feel a profound gratitude for the journey that brought me to this work. Much of what I bring to the bench and to life, I learned from my family. I'm especially proud that my mother is here today. She has been a constant source of strength, compassion, and resilience. She taught me from a young age the importance of fairness, hard work, commitment, and standing up for others. Her unwavering commitment to kindness, selflessness, and integrity shaped my view of justice and what it means to truly serve others. She doesn't work in a legal profession. My family has been the foundation throughout this journey. They have supported me, lifted me up, and sacrificed so that I could do this work. I know the toll this profession can take, the long hours, the heavy responsibilities, the difficult decisions. I'm an only child, but my family is large, and they're watching, some of them. Their love and support remind me every day of why this work matters, and I'm so grateful for them and to them. I thank my husband, who is the love of my life. This is Michael. I thank again my mother. Her name is Marie Claude Joly. Let me say it properly, Marie Claude Joly. That is her name. I thank my cousin Claudine, who made it today, for being here today. She's always been my sister cousin. And she is physically representing our entire tribe. Thank you, cousin. And I thank my children, Michael and Adriana, who couldn't be here today, who ground me and inspire me in every moment. I thank my friends and families who I know are present through the available remote option. I'm going to ask you, just bear with me a few more minutes. As a college student, I was struggling, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I thought, I'll be a teacher, right? That's what I saw women doing. And I was influenced by two father figures in my life, two uncles, Guy Bawon and Claude Zamor. And they saw something in me that I had not yet realized. I thought, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a teacher. I like the idea of working with children. I thought I could positively influence them. My uncles had other plans for me. You should know that I'm of Haitian descent. And in addition, I had been really influenced by my religious upbringing. So let's just say that I was quite the compliant child. And so under much internal protest, I went to law school. And then while in law school, the only classes that appealed to me were those surrounding family law issues. And even though I was exposed to these issues in classes, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was attending a public interest law school forum, and I heard a presenter mention the Legal Aid Society Criminal Defense Division. I wasn't really fully tuned in until I kind of heard him mention, and there's a unit that represents children, the Legal Aid Society's Juvenile Rights Division. I perked up, made my way over to him, had a brief conversation, slipped him my resume. This is before LinkedIn, right? You actually had to meet people. I made my way to him, and the resume made its way to one of the previous Howie recipients, Judge Carol Sherman, And I got a job at the Legal Aid Society Juvenile Rights Division. That's what it was called then. I'm stuck with it. I know it's practice now. And since that first entree into family court, I've had the opportunity, the privilege, and the honor to serve in many roles, which I hope has helped to advance some of the goals embodied by Justice Levine in his juvenile justice and child welfare work. I never strayed from family court, and I continue to work as an advocate, as counsel to various administrative judges, as well as retired appellate division Justice Sandra Miller, who recently passed. I was a court attorney referee in Queens County Family Court. And I served as a judge, served as a deputy administrative judge, and now the proud administrative judge of the New York City Family Court. As the administrative judge, I feel a profound responsibility to not only carry on the values I was raised with, but to advocate for the principles championed by leaders just like Justice Levine. I am reminded too of the mission of the Equal Justice Initiative, which is close to my heart, making sure that every individual has access to fair representation and dignity within our justice system. This commitment is one I carry with me daily as I strive in my legal capacity to support families in ways that are as least intrusive as possible, while attempting to not overstep and afford parents and guardians the respect and dignity they are due, and also honoring the humanity of every single person who walks through our courtroom doors and our courthouse doors. I recently went to Montgomery, Alabama, where I had the privilege to participate in a course that was led by the National Judicial College. It was entitled The Anti-Racist Courtroom and Reducing Disparity Through Non-Traditional Diversion. Part of the time was spent in a classroom setting, and other parts were spent experiencing the Equal Justice Initiative programs in Montgomery that were led and established by Brian Stevenson. And the Equal Justice Initiative represents individuals sentenced to death, condemned to die, those who are, and they challenge inhumane conditions of confinement and work to expose racial bias. What was amazing is meeting three individuals. One was a young man who at the age of 14, for his participation in a robbery, which did not include his participation, which did not include the shooting of the person in the store. He was present. He was sentenced as an adult, life without a chance of parole. His case was appealed, and he was released. We had the good fortune to meet this young man. We also had the fortune of meeting an individual who faced jail time because it was his third conviction. He was a passenger in a vehicle. His sentence was, after being given 5 minutes by a judge and asking for more time, his sentence was 52 years. And he spent 10 years in isolation, solitary confinement, because he was in possession of a banned book. He actually successfully filed his own papers and was successful in appealing it, but many years later. The other experience was meeting Fred Gray. Fred Gray is a civil rights activist and lawyer who at 93 still works. He talked to us on 2 separate occasions and ended each of his remarks with, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do now?" And in one setting, he was talking only to judges. I made my way to him and I told him, "You've set it up so that I can never retire, Judge. I can never." He's 93 and still working. And it doesn't mean working here, but I'm using his words as we sit here in the presence of Justice Levine. Think about what you're going to do. What are we going to do? Can we do something different? What was also amazing about being in Montgomery is that it further reinforced, enhanced, and highlighted my understanding of racial and social justice. You think you know, you don't, right? And the role that we as judges and as a court play in either improving or negatively adding to the systemic inequalities and the lasting impacts on marginalized people and communities, and hopefully improving our perspective in cases involving social and racial issues. I encourage you, if you haven't been to Montgomery, please make your business to be there. It is overwhelming. It is the epicenter of so many things, including the defeat of various Native Americans and the taking of hundreds of millions of acres of their land. The city of Montgomery was the capital of the slave trade. in Alabama, as it had one of the largest slave populations in America at the start of the Civil War. The Confederacy. Montgomery was selected as the first capital of the Confederate States of America, and its main goal was to maintain and expand the practice of slavery. But it was also the primary site of the civil rights movement, including the Montgomery bus boycott and the Selma to Montgomery marches. So I'm sharing this information, thank you for the microphone, so that you can consider a visit to Montgomery, Alabama, specifically a visit to the Equal Justice Initiative, which includes a truly immersive journey that reflects the Legacy Museum, the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park, which just opened this past spring. And I learned that, I think it was last week, that a life-size statue of John Lewis was established, and that's in his home state. So the program also incorporated components of restorative justice and voices of those who were impacted. It's a wonderful program, and it's amazing to just be in that location, experiencing history. So accepting this award, I am reminded of how much we must accomplish. We need to ensure that our justice system serves as a source of support, healing, and hope for young people. I encourage all of us here to continue pushing for reforms that protect the rights, dignities, and potential of every child. Let us be bold in our work, in our efforts, tireless in our commitment, and united in our vision of just systems for all children. Before I end, I want to thank our Chief Judge, Rowan Wilson, who is here, our Chief Administrative Judge, Joseph Zayas, who is also here, our first Deputy Chief Administrative Judge, Judge St. George, our Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Justice Initiatives, Edwina Richardson, who sent me numerous hugs. I know she'll be listening. And our Deputy Chief Administrative Judges, Judge Jim Murphy, who is present as well, and my Deputy Chief Administrative Judge for Trial Courts within New York City, the Honorable Adam Silvera. I thank them for not only recognizing the need to support the family courts in New York State, committing to resourcing our New York State family courts, but actually doing both, resourcing and supporting us. They do more than provide lip service as to how important and critical this work is that is being done in our courts. I know that this is not nomination time, but I would like to offer for consideration to the New York State Bar Association, the leaders of the Unified Court System, as the next recipients of the Howard A. Levine Award for Excellence in Juvenile Justice and Child Welfare. Thank you, thank you, thank you all again for this incredible honor and for the opportunity to be part of a community that believes in the power of justice and compassion. To everyone here, whether in person or virtually, who dedicates themselves to this vital work, I am deeply grateful. I look forward to continuing this journey with all of you, serving alongside all of you, and working towards a justice system that embodies compassion, equality, and hope. Together, let us keep working to fulfill the legacy of Justice Howard A. Levine and build a future where every child can thrive. Thank you.
Congratulations, Judge Jolly. Your speech was so moving and so impactful. Thank you so much for your remarks. And now it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's other honoree, Judith Gerber. I am almost certainly going to slip and call you Judy because that's how I know you and that's how most of us know and love you, but I'm going to try hard to be professional. From her one-on-one work with individual clients of the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo, to her active participation in countless county, court, and statewide committees and organizations, Ms. Gerber, Judy, works on all levels to improve the system and system outcomes for children. I'm just going to go with Judy. Okay. Judy's exceptional expertise in the area of educational law is well known across the state. She is indeed the go-to presenter on all phases of educational law for many organizations, including the 3rd and 4th Department Attorneys for Children programs. On occasions when individual AFCs, and sometimes even a court like we just had last week, needs guidance on a particularly challenging area of educational law. Judy readily responds to questions or to a request for assistance. She gets back like this, and it's astonishing because I know how busy you are. Now, I also have to mention that Judy is also an actively involved, longtime member of the 4th Department Attorneys for Children Advisory Committee. And I could stand up here all night and tell you all the many, many valuable contributions that she has selflessly made to our program over the years. And we thank you so much for that, Judy. Now I will share some quotes from others who supported Judy's nomination, starting with Erie County Family Court Judge Kelly Brinkworth, who notes that Judy's knowledge and legal experience in the field of educational law has allowed her to ensure that the needs of her clients are not only met, but exceeded. Judy readily navigates multiple bureaucratic systems, and just let's stop and think what a nightmare that must be, to put her clients on the path to success while showing compassion for those who do not possess the skills needed to advocate for themselves. In the words of the Honorable Brenda Friedman, Erie County Family Court Judge, for the past 3 decades, judges have counted on Ms. Gerber to represent thousands of children because she is such a tremendous advocate for them. Ms. Gerber is a creative problem solver. Many of our children's lives do not fit squarely into any one pattern or solution. Ms. Gerber works hard to overcome barriers, whether they are transportation related, parental inability, or agency limitations. Judge Friedman says, I can think of specific cases that would have ended differently had the AFC been someone other than Ms. Gerber. The Honorable Shannon Filbert, another Erie County Family Court judge, was a colleague of Judy's at the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo prior to taking the bench. In the words of Judge Filbert, I've had the pleasure of working alongside Ms. Gerber, representing abused and neglected children at Legal Aid. I cannot overestimate both how much I have learned from her and how she has guided the representation of children and all stakeholders in dramatic changes to the child welfare legal process in our community and across the state. And Judge Filbert adds, I could go on forever about Ms. Gerber's accomplishments. There's a theme here, Judy. In the words of retired Erie County Family Court Judge Lisa Block Rodwin, not only is Ms. Gerber able to develop the skills of her staff at the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo to represent children in a trauma-informed manner, but she pushed the Erie County Family Court into greater reliance on restorative justice practices while taking into account cultural, racial, gender, and sexuality factors and developing appropriate case resolutions. Ms. Gerber is deeply respected by all the local judiciary and has trained judges across the state at the Judicial Institute annually for over a decade. Ms. Gerber's colleagues at the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo added their voices in support of her nomination as well. David Schopp, CEO, and Nadine Patterson, Deputy Executive Director of the Civil Practice, noted Judy's achievements in developing and implementing innovative programs, her ongoing involvement in policy advocacy, and her exceptional contributions as a mentor and leader. Judy's colleague, Marcus Richardson, social work supervisor, noted how Judy took the lead in addressing the school status of a 5-year-old client with autism who was eloping from the classroom and was frequently suspended from school. Judy's team prevailed in the school proceedings, elicited support from school staff, and ultimately obtained the client's placement at an agency day school where he is now thriving. And listen to this. The client's mother showed her appreciation by texting, "You guys changed our lives and we will never forget you. He loves school and they love him too." Another colleague, Russell Fox, notes that Judy's heart genuinely goes out to her child clients, but it is her talent and commitment that serves them well. I'm going to close my remarks with this observation from Judy's colleague, Teresa Lorenzo. Judy doesn't do it because it's her job. Judy doesn't do it to receive accolades. Judy does it because she cares. She really cares. Please join me in congratulating Judy Gerber.
water. I'm taking.
And they're gonna want pictures over here, and let's get Judge Levine.
Oh, wow. Linda, you've done me in. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for you, your leadership, your friendship, and 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 the way you brought me here today to this moment, to this room filled with people who care so deeply about families and children. And I'm so honored. I'm so honored by your presence. Um, Judge Rivera, where's Judge Rivera? Judge Rivera, like, I can't believe that 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 you did a lot of that ad lib, right? Judge Rivera said he pulled out his quotes, but he speaks from his heart. And I'm very moved and I'm very touched that you're here, and I'm very grateful for your new leadership among us. Dominic Napolitano, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the leadership that you bring to the entire bar of the entire state. And now I've just learned that you're a solo practitioner. So how the heck you do that? I can't begin to imagine the kind of sacrifice and giving that involves. And then, of course, there are so many distinguished judges, the Court of Appeals, my goodness, Judge Wilson, Judge Zayas. I think as I walked around the room that I had a good shot that if I called anyone judge, I had a pretty good chance at being right. And then I know so many of the others of you here today who are my friends, and I'm so glad that you're here. I think that if I were to start out by just saying, if it may please, if it pleases the court, that I'd also have a good shot at, or no, may it please the court. Well, how long has it been since I've done an appeal? But I will tell you, I'll begin by saying that I'm kind of very happy to be here in Albany. Not everybody says that, but those who, come visit Buffalo know that that's also not necessarily common, but once you come, you really love it. And the reason for us is that Steve and I, and this is my husband, Steve, we started our married life here in Albany, and I actually came to work at the Court of Appeals straight out of law school. So we lived on State Street, which at the moment we're now staying at a hotel that's literally half a block down the street from the apartment we lived in when we first moved to Albany. And every day, Monday to Friday anyway, I would stroll down State Street to get to the court at Eagle. And it was a wonderful and inspiring experience for me. And it began my journey. Judge Jolly and Marie, if I may say, right? We do go way back, and we've come together more recently, right? It's oh my gosh, do you remember me? I remember you. We did this work together. And to be in your company, to share this with you, I think it's a thing that it will bond us going forward for, I think, the whole rest of our journeys. So thank you for all that you do and for being my friend. And so the bench in Erie County, we've got a wonderful bunch of judges, and I am so grateful for what I've heard today. Is goes straight into my heart. And it's not only the current bench, but it's also former judges who really paved the way, I think, for me. Judge Lisa Block-Rodwin, who is always available as a resource and an advisor. Judge Friedman is on that bench now and is doing her best in terms of working on restorative justice, and Judge Lavallo and Judge Carney and I will just say all of you. Thank you, because I'm going to miss somebody and then I'm going to feel really bad about that. Judge Levine, you are the source. You are the inspiration. And I'll say that this may not be the Oscars, so I don't think I have to go on and on forever with my thank yous, but it is, after all, what Judge Richardson refers to as the Howies. Not sure. And I just am so moved that, and I hope that's not irreverent. I think it just is a symbol of the affection and regard that all of us have for the impact and meaning of your work and what it is to come here, because I think it feels comparable to those of us in this profession to the Oscars. So thank you. I didn't have water, so I'm turning it into wine. So this work that I do, that we do, has filled my life with meaning and with purpose. And Judge Rivera, I think that quote by Rumi was so apt. I didn't know that I had the desire until I came to it, and then I couldn't do anything else but this work. I'm so grateful for the road that I've been able to travel, and for the support and the collaboration and the friendship and the love and the grace. When we drop our balls, we don't return our calls, we take a little too long to, right? But I try really hard with Linda, right? So all of that I've received along the way. And I mean, most of all, it's just such a privilege to work with children, to sit in the room with a 4-year-old who doesn't necessarily have the language, but is still, as we say, the expert on her life, and to use the tools to be able to pull out, to hear, to understand, really to listen, to work with a 12-year-old who's been removed from a home, to work with a teenager who's struggling with whether to stay in care and who may be on the edge of homelessness, right? To work with a child who has a disability, who needs additional supports, who has a terrible time going to school because school is so painful, right? So it falls to all of us in all our different roles to do what we can, and I'm very privileged to have mine. This work takes fortitude. So you learn who you can lean on. So you can see one of the people I most lean on in my life. My husband, Steve Sugarman, he's a person of such compassion and kind-heartedness. He's funny, silly, I would say. So we get a lot of silly in our house. And he's Mr. Mediator to boot. That's his line of work. It's every day he meets with families. He meets with, oh, don't you cry. Um, and he teaches a clinic at the law school in mediation, and he's brought, oh, I'd say, I think he's influenced hundreds and hundreds of young lawyers to use the skills of alternative dispute resolution and negotiation. So I know this is about me, it's not about you, but it's informed my life, it's informed my work every day. And then, of course, there's my children, my 3 daughters, Samantha, Emily, and Abby, and the men in their lives. Love them. I think of my mother and my father today. My father is deceased. My mother is 94 years old, and she's in Buffalo now. And life was not always easy, and we had our challenges. But I will tell you this. When they had a child who struggled with mental illness, as is in the case of our family, they were a spectacular force. And my mother was one of the first presidents of the New York State Alliance for the Mentally Ill. And we have a lovely picture of her getting a kiss on the cheek from Mario Cuomo, who said, Phyllis, you got to make me do what you want me to do, right? Bring the constituency to me. And I was so proud of her, and I learned so much from her. And there's my sisters, Sandy and Risa, who knew me before I knew me. And I'm not going to go on because I have so many family members that I would love to acknowledge. But you know who you are, and you know who you've meant to me. And we have an extraordinary tribe. On whether you're from my original family or my husband's family, we are very, very blessed. Okay, so if there is a theme in my life, my work life, I would say it's that I've been in a constant state of evolution, just lots of change. And sometimes when I present at CLAs, I say, well, either you might think that I have had a rich and varied career or that I can't hold a job. And I think it's the first, it's not the latter. And so I go back to my original work. And I don't want to focus too much on my resume, but just to give a little bit of sense of what has informed me. So I go back to law school. I took a clinic in special education law. And it was taught by a wonderful young man named Ron Hager and a wonderful woman, Mary Lang, who was a parent who had experienced the challenges of advocating for her child long before there was any law that would support a parent's position in school. And she knew the law inside and out. She had not been to law school. And in fact, she hadn't been to college, but she was the heart of that clinic. And I learned so much from her. I remember this was very early on, shortly after the federal special ed laws had passed. And we'd go to meetings in schools where they would instruct the parents to sit in child-sized chairs in front of the committee while they sat around the table in adult, I swear, right? We saw children who couldn't read, right? Who would regularly feel humiliated because they were required to get up and stand in front of the class and do so. We saw children routinely excluded from school. And it goes on. And so this was formative for me. And this was just as a law student. And I loved it so much that a couple years later, when Ron called me back to called me up to see if I would come co-teach that clinic with him, I jumped at that chance. And that's actually how I kind of cut my eye teeth in that area. But it was a radical concept at the time that parents were given a seat at the table and they were partners, right? And it's really what we're still after in the family law arena, isn't it? So I pursued my career in special ed law, and I'm going to fast forward and take you to about 2000, when I had been doing some family court work as a law guardian. And I think about that time, right? What we used to do as law guardians, the practices and talk about evolution have changed so much. But around that time, Sharon Townsend, who was the supervising judge of Erie County Family Court, gave me a call and she said, Judy, there's this conference in Washington, D.C. Will you go on my behalf? It's focused on addressing the educational needs of kids in foster care. And I'll send you as my emissary. And this changed the whole trajectory of my career, because there I learned about the kinds of challenges that children in care and children in child welfare, and then more broadly juvenile justice, face every day. And I heard stories, especially there was this young man named Adam Cornell who presented, and he talked about moving from home to home to home and school to school to school, and finally thought that he had some stability in his life. And the most horrible thing happened. The gentleman who was ready to adopt him took his own life. And so Adam was once again left without stability. And it was his school, it was his teachers, it was those who cared for him there who said, you're going to college. And they helped him find his path. He ended up in law school. And lo and behold, first of all, he found himself. He discovered his identity, and that was through his schooling. And I was so deeply influenced by that encounter that a couple of years ago, I tracked him down. And I found him. It was last I knew, he was a district attorney outside of Seattle, doing really well and living a stable and really lovely life. And I needed him to know what he meant to me. So that's where we were. And so what came out of this conference is that I ended up working for the New York State Permanent Judicial Commission on Justice for Children, spearheading a statewide project to address the needs of children in foster care. And it was a dream job. They paid me to research and study and think and put materials together and write, and then sent me all across the state to meet with all different kinds of folks. So I learned as I taught. And I got the opportunity to work with Judge Kay, with Cheryl Dicker, who was at the time executive director, Azra Farrell, and other folks there. So I mention this because had I not had that opportunity to work the Judicial Commission, I would never have been able to develop the relationships that I have today across the state, which has so enriched my life and I think my reach. And so finally we fast forward, right? Last place with things in between, but the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo, which gave me the opportunity to join its staff and to build an education law practice. And I am, I'm so proud of what we built there, of the team of attorneys that we have who work collaboratively on an interdisciplinary basis to address the needs of children in a really holistic fashion. We always have room for improvement. We always have more to do, but we've all come such a long way. And I'm very, very, very proud of the entire team there. You heard from Teresa and Russell. And they've been there Teresa just celebrated her 40th year at our agency. So we hold on to people. Oh, we try. And then having built that program, I advanced because I kind of said the theme for me is evolution. It's changing and moving. And I became the head of the entire unit for the Attorneys for Children unit. And there I've had more and more opportunity to grow, to learn, to be a part of the action, right? And have a seat at the table. So this theme of evolution, I think I got to see what I may have a little last page here. So as I've evolved, so too has our understanding of the law, of child welfare, of juvenile justice, of schools, and the many systems that touch our children. We've come to understand and look at children and families and the law through a different lens. And we still have a lot of work to do. And I'm so glad that Judge Jolly really touched so deeply on the issues that are at hand. No, we need to be guided by the social science. We need to be guided by our understanding of the impact of racism. We need to be guided by our understanding of trauma, of adolescent development, of child development from birth on. And we are at a moment, right? At a moment where we can make choices to change and choices to evolve in the way we do our work. So the exciting thing for me is that I think I'm not done evolving. And I'm looking ahead to more opportunities to grow and to learn and to be a part of this community that has given so much to me and filled my heart. And I think I'll say that I'm done because I'm about to not be able to go further, but I'm done. So thank you all. I love you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of the Bar Association and our Committee on Children and the Law, we would love for everyone to just grab a drink, grab some refreshments, and mingle. So thank you. Have a great night.